go over a couple of projects that I've had submitted early. First, I should say thank you for those of you who did actually get a couple of these in early, because this is kind of a tight deadline to turn these around and then turn around and do the test again. And I really want to make sure that you guys understand, you know, the pitfalls, the things that maybe could go wrong with this project, what I'm looking for, because I really want to make sure that you guys are successful on this project. Okay, so I wanted to go over these. This is, you know, a good opportunity for feedback, and then of course these students they'll have the opportunity to submit again. But I just wanted to kind of show you guys how I look at these projects. Okay, so this is Donald's project, and the first couple of things I have to say about this are right off the bat, there are no layer masks being used in Donald's project. You see all those little white screens next to the adjustment layers. I mean, he did an okay job with the adjustment layers, but he didn't do any local corrections. So global corrections are corrections that are applied to the entire image. And every adjustment layer he created here was applied to the entire image. He has no local corrections. So that's not one thing, and that's 10 points right off the bat. So I would hate to have to take that. That's like, you know, 2 letter grades on a 50-point project if you look at the rubric. The other thing is that there's no retouch layer. Actually, there are 3 things. I said a couple of things. There's 3 things. There's no retouch layer. So the first thing, you know, make sure that one of the things you do is, you know, this layer 0, that's the original image. You want to keep that the same because it's the that's, you know, how we edit non-destructively. But then you're going to copy that layer, and you're going to make a retouch layer. Okay. Another thing here is that you see here that I have the histogram up, and I'm showing the composite histogram, and then I'm showing all 3 channels. So visibly, I can see that there are still color issues with this image. But then, you know, one of the things that I look for, and it's actually written this way in the rubric, is, you know, does the histogram or are there numeric signs of issues? So we still have a pretty significant shift here. Now, so globally, we still have some work to do. So I would probably just make another levels adjustment, and I'm going to bust this out over here. And then I would go into each, and this is just like one of my first things that I do. You know, see here I'm moving the red sliders, the highlight and the shadow sliders in the red channel so they meet information. Do the same thing in the green, and the same thing in the blues. And that by itself actually did a tremendous amount of good in this image. If you just kind of zip back and forth, the contrast is a little bit better. There's a lot of things that are helpful. And then you could play with the mid-tone sliders, like, you know, look at how the lips are kind of purplish. So we might, and you know what, we might have to do that locally. So maybe I don't even bother doing that here. But I thought about, you know, maybe working in the mid-tones a little bit just to see, and actually, yeah, and that's good because he chose an appropriate image here. This is a good image for this project. Okay, so that's one thing that we can do right off the bat that will improve the image. Now let's talk local corrections. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. Let me put my properties back down here. Now you can make a selection and make the correction, or you can make the correction and then mask. I'm kind of a fan of making the selection first. So I just entered my quick mask, I grab my brush, and I'm just going to paint here on this. This is one area where I see where the color's not quite right. And then maybe I'm going to do I'm going to exit my quick mask. I'm going to hue saturation. And then I'm going to invert my mask because I actually, remember when you use quick mask, we actually are getting an inversion. We're protecting the area that we're masking. And so now I have this hue saturation, so I might want to Maybe I could just try actually going into the blues and take the saturation down. That didn't really do anything. Maybe the cyans, because those lips are just really purple, and that is not hitting it. So maybe I want to go to the reds and try to pop the red. There we go. Okay, so going into the reds and popping up the reds, I was able to make those lips. As you can see there, if you look at the lips, look at the difference that's made. Okay, and that's, so I want to show you this up here, this hue saturation 1. I know you guys can't see my mouse for whatever reason when I'm doing these Google Hangouts, but you can see this top layer here in the layers panel, hue saturation. It's the one that has the black mask, and you can't see it very well, but there's actually just a little tiny white dot, and that represents the lips. So if I toggle that, you can see I've popped up the lips. So that's a good example of, you know, a localized correction, and I want to see a lot of local corrections. I also make sure you understand, I look for layers that really don't make much sense or don't do anything. So, and I don't know if he has any here. I haven't looked at this. So he did a levels, brightened it up. He did a curves, kind of brought it back and improved the color, brightness, contrast. He recognized it was a little bit dull. Did an exposure, kind of knocked it back again. So he was experimenting, play with the vibrance a couple of times. So, but again, nothing really makes up for, nothing really replaces getting that strong start with the histogram, like what I was able to do with this level, this layer here. So with 2 layers, I was able to do quite a bit. Ooh, goodness, yeah, but it's cumulative. So, and the other thing is, hey guys, I'm recording a video in here. Sorry, I should have shut my door. But you know, I might want to make that my first attempt, is actually doing that with, you know, without these other layers on here, and that might even get me a better result. Now I want to look at this is another image that we came in, and I want to show you there's some good things in here, and there's some things that can be improved. So here is her original image, and you can see here she really has done a nice job improving the image. You can see not only visually in the image that it's improved, but then also in the histogram. I think the histogram is a little bit more appropriate. Like this, the red information is shifted way to the right. The blue information is shifted way to the left. So, I mean, that suggests an imbalance. So she's actually, even though I think there's still some mistakes in the histogram, the color is much more balanced than it was. So that's pretty cool. One of the things I want to talk about here, though, this cropping layer. I've seen this a couple of times, and I'm just toggling that visibility icon because I know you guys can't see my mouse. Understand that this layer doesn't really do anything. Okay, you can see here I can toggle it back and forth. There's nothing happening visually with the image. It's so you guys are kind of, and this is cool. I understand you're trying to appease me. You're like, okay, well, he wants me to, you know, crop this image and improve it through cropping and other things. But, you know, I don't expect you to actually crop the image, or excuse me, include a layer for cropping the image, because it doesn't. All this does is it actually increases Amy's file size. And if you look down on the bottom, her image is actually 63 megabytes. So I'm going to get rid of that layer, and now the image is 46 megabytes. So the reason why I bring that up is that because all Amy did was actually made her life harder in attempting to, you know, do that so that she can show me work. It does nothing to the digital image, and just increased the size of the file by like 20 some megabytes, which then may slow your computer down and make life harder. The other thing here is this trees layer. I'm guessing this is her retouch layer, and if you look here, you can actually see there's a couple of things visually going on there. You know, fix the back of that t-shirt. Looks like she got rid of a bleacher. There was a blemish in the grass behind. I think there's still some opportunities that, you know, she missed. Like, you know, there's, if you look, I'm going to grab the spot healing brush. There's a, you know, a little thing right here that we can work on. There's some, you know, dullness here in the background, etc. So there's probably some other opportunities that could be cleaned up here. She does have layer masks working for her, so she does. I can see that she's making those local corrections, and that's good. You can see she popped up the saturation on a couple of things. It looks like, or played with the contrast, so that made the grass a little greener. This is a tough image. These are all tough images. I wanted to see problem solving. Here in creativity, I think that globally the color is still problematic. So I would go ahead and just hit this again here, and I'm just going to go to the reds and just do the same thing I did on Donald's. Bring those sliders to where the information exists, and I'm just kind of. She was already pretty well balanced. But look at the difference that makes. Look at that. The color is better, has better balance. The contrast is stronger. The greens are more appropriate. Your neutrals are getting better. We still have this guy is still these. Well, actually, you can't see my mouse, so maybe let me see here. Yeah, you can see that. So these guys over here are still, they're kind of dull magenta-ish as this guy is here. So there's still opportunities for local corrections, but this is actually, her project is pretty good. I'd have to say, without getting the rubric out, and please do look at the rubric because retouching is a required component. Analyzing that histogram and the numbers, that R equals G equals B, these are required components. So I would have to say that Amy probably was looking at it's improved. There's non-destructive edits. I see adjustment layers and layer masks. I'm seeing pretty good experimentation. She did some retouching, so she's got a B or better here. This is not a bad project the way she had it. I just wanted to give you guys show you some things in here to make things easier, give you guys some examples. But it's not a bad project. It's actually pretty good. This would have been, like I said, a B level grade or better anyway. But I want to give her the opportunity to do that. But Donald, who has done great work all semester, and he's been very, very busy. He's a busy guy, and I appreciate the work he does. But unfortunately, it looks like he got in a little bit of a hurry here. And if I had to assess this, he probably would be looking at an inferior grade, a grade that is not in line with the rest of the work he's done in this class. He's done very well in this class. So anyway, I'm doing this to give feedback and to give them another opportunity because we still have a couple of days until the Dropbox closes. And I am going to try to grade these and get them back to you guys as quickly as possible. So that you have what you need for the color correction test. And the color correction test is going to have similar requirements. You're going to be color correcting 3 images, and then there's a written portion. And when you color correct the images, I'm looking for global and local corrections. I'm looking for the same kinds of things I just talked about in these images here. So thank you, Amy and Donald, for being my guinea pigs unknowingly and not necessarily willingly, but you got some pre-feedback on your project so you can maybe make a couple of improvements and even get a better mark than you would have originally. So thanks for being on top of things, get things in early, and I hope this helps, guys.